If you have not had the chance yet, go ahead and turn in your notes to 6.2. Today we are learning a new lesson called the percent proportion. There is an equation that I want us to have today. So if you look up at the top of your notes, there's a little cloud. Inside of the cloud, I would like you to write this equation. Is over of equals P over 100. Okay, use your red pens to fill in this section of your notes. Okay, so these three different sections are going to be important to understand. Is always going to be the number that follows the word is, okay? And that's going to be the part of the thing we're looking for. Of is the number that follows the word of, and that's the whole that we will be talking about. And then finally, the P is going to be the percent because it starts with a P, all right? Let's read one more time the percent proportion together. Go ahead. Is over of equals P over 100. We're going to use that throughout our lesson today. Section number 1 says to write and solve a proportion to answer the question. The first thing I want you to do is take out your red pen. We're going to try to figure out if we can find out what the is, the of, and the P is going to be. Everybody underline this right here, these two words with your red pen, what percent. Do you guys think what percent is going to help us find the is, the of, or the P?
Yes.
The P. How come you think it's going to be the P?
Because P is percent.
P is percent. Very good. Let's circle this, the second part of this question, of 15. Guys, what number comes after the word of?
15.
15, so that's going to be my of. Finally, I would like everyone to underline is 12. Do you think that number 12 is going to be my is, my of, or my P? It's going to be my is because it's the number that follows the word is. Now today it has asked us to use the percent proportion to solve this. So I'd like everyone to take out your pencil and let's write the percent proportion. Is over of equals P over 100. First things first, we are trying to figure out what our is going to be. Does the original question tell me what the is going to be? Yes, what is it? 12. Look right here. It says is 12. So instead of is over of, I'm going to put 12 over of. Let's figure out, do we know what our of is?
15.
15. Look right here. It says of 15. So instead of is over of, I'm going to put 12 over 15. Equals P over 100. Class, do we know what our P is? No. If you look up here, it says what percent. That means I am trying to figure out what the percent is going to be. Since I don't know it yet, I'm just going to leave that as P over 100. Now we have a problem that looks like some other things we've done before, and we are going to use cross products to help us find it. If everyone would please circle these diagonally. Drop down your equal sign directly underneath it. Now, it doesn't matter what order we do it in, but I am going to do the order that has the variable first. So I'm going to write 15 times P or 15P. What should I write on the right side, class?
12 times 100.
12 times 100. Autumn, what is 12 times 100?
1,200.
Very good. It is 1,200 or 1,200. Maddie, how do I get P by itself? Divide by 15 on both sides. Okay, once again, this is a calculator chapter, so let's figure out, guys, what is 1,200 divided by 15? 80. Let's go back to our original question. It says, what percent of 15 is 12? So the answer should be 80%. And that is the answer to our first question. The next one says 24 is what percent of 20? Now, we're going to work from left to right, and we are going to identify the three different things. The is, the of, and the P. I'd like everyone to take your red pen. Let's just start from left to right. 24 is. Everybody underline that. Do you think that's my is, my of, or my P? That's my is. Good job. Next, I'm going to circle either the of or the P. What do you think I'm going to circle?
The of.
I'm going to work from left to right, so I'm going to be circling what percent. Do you think that's the of or the P?
P.
That is the P. That's my percent. And finally, I'm going to underline the third section, which would be of 20. Okay? Now, all I'm doing here is I'm discovering this is the first section, that's the second section, and this is the third section. Okay? So that's all the reason of why we're underlining and circling. Okay? Let's write down the percent proportion right now. Is over of equals P over 100. Jace, do we know what our is? Very good. You can see right there it says 24 is. So instead of is over of, I am going to put 24 over of. Michaela, do we know what our of is?
Yes.
What is it?
20.
20. Over here you can see of 20. So instead of is over of, I'm going to put 24 over 20. Reagan, do I know what my P is?
No.
No, I do not. Okay, if you look right here, this says what percent, which means we are still trying to figure out what the percent is. So we're just going to keep it as P over 100. Now the last one, we just used cross products. There's another way we can also find this answer, and it's a much faster way. Do you guys remember what that is?
Mental math.
Mental math, very good. So I am trying to discover what the P is. Everybody circle the P, which means I am working from left to right to get from a 24 to a P. In order to find the missing link, I have to see how did I get from a 20 to a 100. Remember, you do this with either multiplying or dividing. Guys, if I'm trying to get from a 20 to 100, should I multiply or divide?
Divide.
Multiply, because we're getting bigger. What number do I multiply? What's the missing link? Times 20 times what equals 100? 5. 20 times 5. Class, if I multiply the bottom by 5, what do I have to do to the top? Also be fair and multiply by 5. So looking at this right here, I can see 20 times 5 does equal 100, which means 24 times 5 does equal P. Class, what is 24 times 5?
10. Oh.
What is it? 120. Now go back to the original question where it says 24 is what percent of 20? So the answer is 120%. Box that in.
I got 536.
Okay, let's go to the next one. It says, what number is 80% of 60? We're going to underline and circle the 3 separate parts. Remember, I'm looking for an is, an of, and a P. Haylin, what should I underline first? What number is, okay? Is that going to be my is, my of, or my P?
Is.
That's the is, okay? Haylin, what should I circle next?
80%.
80%. Haylin, is that my is, my of, or my P? That's the P, very good. And finally, we'll underline the last thing, of 60, which is obviously the of. Now we're going to start with writing our percent proportion. Remind me again, class, what is the percent proportion? Is over of equals,
P equals 100.
everyone say it together one more time. Is over of equals P over 100. Help me, Jocelyn, what's my is? No, that's the percent. Look at this. What number is? Do we know what our is? No, it's saying what number is. So since we don't know, we're just going to put it as an X because it's a mystery to us right now. Jocelyn, do we know our of?
Yes, it's 60.
Very good. Okay, so of 60, that's going to be my of, and I'll plug it in X over 60. And do we know our P, Jocelyn? 80, because remember P stands for percent, so we know that 80% means 80 over 100. So because of that, I am not going to put this as 80%, once again, because 80% means 80 over 100. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do cross products. Luke, how do I do that?
You circle the 60 and the 80, and you circle the X and 100. You bring down an equal sign, and then you write 60 times 80, and then X times 100, and figure out what 60 times 80 is. It's 4,800 for your X, and then you divide by 100 both sides.
Okay, now I know we can use calculators, but let's also remember some of the tricks that we know. If there's a 0 in the numerator and a 0 in the denominator, you can slash those out. Once again, there's another 0 in the numerator and another 0 in the denominator. I can get rid of those. Class, what's 48 divided by 1?
48.
48. Okay, so that's kind of a faster way than plugging it in a calculator. If you want to use the calculator, you can also discover 4,800 divided by 100 does in fact equal 48. Let's go back to the original problem. What number is 80% of 60? Do you think that I should put the percent sign on my answer?
No.
No, why not?
Because you already have it.
There's already a percent up here, but also it's not asking me for a percent. It's asking me what number, okay? So if you said 48%, that would be incorrect, but the number is 48. Any questions on how we did that one? All right, let's go to the next one. We're going to separate it into 3 separate parts, the is, the of, and the p. Jonathan, what should I underline first? 10%, good job. That's my percent. What should I circle now? Good job. That's my of. And finally, what do I underline? Is what number. Excellent. Please take out your pencil, and I want everyone to start by writing is over of equals p over 100. All right, Jonathan, back to you. Do we know our is? It's an is, okay? Since we don't know it, we're just going to keep it as plain old x. Is over of. Jonathan, do we know our of?
Yes.
What is it? 40.5. Okay, so we're going to plug that in there as 40.5. Do we know our p?
Yes.
What is it? Okay, 30% or 10%. So instead of p over 100, what will I put? Okay, 10 over 100. Okay, Jonathan, what are you going to do next? Okay, cross products, very good. Tell us what to write.
40.5
Times 10. All right, remember, anytime that you multiply something times a 10 and there's a decimal point, you would just move that decimal point 1 time to the right. Okay, so Jonathan, what's our answer going to be? 405. Very good. Now how do I get x by itself, Jonathan? Very good. And what's 405 divided by 100? 4.05. Good job. Notice all we did was we moved that decimal point, which was here at the end, 2 places to the left, and that's how we got 4.05. Jonathan, should I put a percent sign? No, it's not asking me for a percentage. It says 10% of 40.5 is what number? So we do not want to have that percent sign there. Instead, it's just going to be 4.05. Okay, who would like to help me with circling and underlining the beginning part? Jace, what should I underline first? You guys can just do this with your pencil. Okay, you just wanted to underline of and the P. Remember, you only want to underline one of those things. So we're just going to underline the 45%. Okay, what should I circle now? Just read from left to right. What should I circle next? Of what number? Good job. So that means we don't know our of. And then finally, the only last thing that's left is 9. If you would, please, everybody start with is over of equals p over 100. Do you know what our is going to be? 9 over of. Do we know what our of is going to be? No, so we're just going to put an x equals p over 100. Do we know our p?
45%.
Good job. So we're just going to write 45 over 100 because that means 45%. For this one, I want us to do mental math. If everyone would please circle what we are trying to answer. We are trying to answer what the x is. In order to do that, I have to work backwards. So I'm working from the right side to the left side, which means I have to work from the 45 to the 9. Class, if I have something bigger and I'm going to something smaller, should I multiply or divide it? Divide. What is the missing link between a 45 and a 9? Divide by 5. Okay, so I'm working from the right side to the left side, divide by 5. Here you can see, class, 45 divided by 5 does equal 9. So then for the bottom, I am going to have to do the same thing. 20 or 100 divided by 5 equals what, guys? 20. So x equals 20. Should I put a percent?
No.
No, look right here. It says of what number? So the answer is just going to be 20. Any questions on that one? All right. Let's move on to the next one. 30 is 150% of what number? Michaela, what should I underline and circle?
Under circle what number?
Start from left to right. What should I do first?
Underline 30
Is that my is, of, or P?
is.
Okay, so underline 30 is.
And then circle 150%.
Good job. That's my P because there's a percent.
And it's underlined of what number?
Very good. Everybody start with the percent proportion. Remind me again, what is the percent proportion, class? Is over of equals.
P over 100.
Excellent. Michaela, what is my is?
30.
What's my of?
There's no number, so put X.
Put an X. What is my P?
150%.
Okay, so we're just going to put 150 over 100. All right, I do not care how you guys get the answer. You can either use mental math or cross products. I want you to try it on your own. Okay, so as I looked at it, it looks like most of you guys did cross products. We're just going to check to see if I get the same answer when I use mental math. I'm trying to figure out the X, so I'm moving from a 100 to an X. For those of you who did mental math, from a 150 down to a 30, what was your missing link?
5.
What about 5?
Well, yes. Divide by 5.
Divide by 5. So then I also have to divide by 5 on the bottom. Guys, what is 100 divided by 5? 20. Looks like we got the same answer as last time. Should I put a percent?
No.
No, it asks me what number, so I want my answer to be a number. How many of you who did cross products also got x equals 20? All right, so remember, both ways you should be able to discover the same answer. Okay, we are going to do our first modeling real life for this right here. An Arctic woolly bear caterpillar lives for 7 years and spends 90% of its life frozen. Approximately how many years of its life is the Arctic woolly bear frozen? How many of you guys left your house today and you felt pretty cold? Okay, well, this little guy lives most of his life absolutely frozen, all right? We are going to use the same formula that we've been using all day to help us with this. So, guys, what is the percent proportion?
Is
P equals P over 100.
Okay, so write that down for me, please. Now, I want you to flip back to your notes of what we wrote down at the very beginning, okay? You'll see the little formula that's there for the proportion, but then you also see that is the number that follows the word is, and in red, we wrote a certain word. What is the is?
Part.
The part. Take your red pen, and right next to the word is, I want you to write part. Over, what did we say the of represents? The whole. I want you to write part over whole in a red pen. Now we're just going to put that into parentheses because that's just an idea that's going to help us. We're taking the part divided by the whole. Okay? So right now, what are we looking for? Are we looking for the part of his life that is frozen, or are we looking for the whole life, how long he lived?
Life is frozen.
We're looking for the part that he was frozen. Do we know the part that he was frozen yet? No, that's what we're trying to discover. So right now, we do not know what part he was frozen, which means we don't know our is. What can we write to help us discover what that is?
X.
Let's put an X. Over of, that's his whole life. Do we know how long this little caterpillar lived?
7 years.
7 years. So we're going to say X over 7 equals P over 100. Do we know what percent of his life he was frozen? 90%, which means 90 over 100. Do you see a clear missing link to get us from the 7 to the 100? No. Okay, so that means mental math is probably not the best choice for this. Instead, we're going to use cross products. Jacoby, what should I do?
What you should do is, you should divide.
We're going to multiply because we're doing cross products, okay? So we're going to multiply 100 times x. What should I multiply on the other side?
90 by 7.
90 times 7. Class, what is 90 times 7?
630.
630. Now the whole goal is to get x by itself. Jacoby, how do I get x by itself?
You divide.
By?
You divide the 100 by 100x.
Very good.
You divide the 630 by 100.
All right, excellent. Now this is going to give us the answer of approximately how many years it's spends its life frozen? Guys, do you know the answer?
6.3.
6.3 what?
Years.
Years. Very good. As you can see, out of its 7 years of life, most of it, 6.3 of his years, he has spent completely frozen. Does that sound like a fun life to you?
Yeah,
Very.
essentially.
How many of you love being cold? How many of you hate being cold? I don't think I would want to be cold my whole life. I do like wearing warm clothes, but probably not my whole life.
I can't sleep in the hot. I just can't.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Think, pair, share. It's exactly like the problems we've done today. I want you to do the first problem on your own. All right, how many of you would say that you found somebody else with the same answer as you? Okay, so we've got what percent of 5 is 3? We're starting off with is over of equals p over 100. For those of you that already completed it, what's my is?
3%. I mean,
3. What's my of? 5. And we're looking for the p. Was there anyone who did mental math? If you tried to do mental math, to get from a 5 to a 100, we have to multiply by 20 on top and bottom. Class, what is 3 times 20? 60. P equals 60%. How many of you did it that way? How many of you did it with cross products? If you did it cross products, did you also get 60%?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, let's look at this last problem for today. For this problem, I want you to round the answer to the nearest tenths place, okay? Go ahead and do it with your partner. Okay, so looking at this, we know this is my is, my p, and my of. Is over of equals p over 100. My is what, class? 50. My of?
X.
My p? 35 over 100. Can I use mental math?
No.
No, this is not a clear-cut mental math with a good missing link. So instead, we will do which method? Cross products. How many of you got 35x equals 50 times 100?
Yep.
If yours doesn't look like this, erase it and fix it. Just the boys, what is 50 times 100? 5,000. Just the girls, how do I get x by itself? Raise your hand if you and your partner got this far together. Okay, now this is where I think people started getting confused. You have to put in 5,000 divided by 35. It's been a little while since we have talked about rounding. So 142 point, and this keeps going, 857,143. Guys, which number is in the tenths place? The 8. So that's the number we're trying to figure out if it needs to go bigger or if it stays the same. To round, you ask the neighbor next to you, are you 5 or bigger? What does that 5 say? Yes, I am 5 or bigger because he is 5. So this is going to stay the same. Still keep 142 point, but instead of 0.8, what will the 0.8 turn into? 0.9. So the correct answer is 142.9.
What if the number?
All right, so that is it for today's lesson. Now for tonight's homework, you have 9 problems to work on.